money at any time, you put a pen in between the layers of it like this, okay, just like that. And then you push on it with the palm of your hand, like this, really hard. See, and that means it's real. See, because a real bill will actually tear very easily, just like this one is torn there. A counterfeit one, you can't do that. It doesn't go through quite as easily. It's not as convenient. And actually, you can tell by the sound of the bill when it tears off. Hold on to the end of the pen like that, and we'll tear it right off of there. Yeah, so you can tell by the sound. You know, it's got a nice ring to it, kind of. And
yeah, but that's my bill.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Well, that's okay. I'm an amateur surgeon, so all I have to do is weave the fibers of the bill back together, leaving no hole, no tear, no damage whatsoever.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Yeah, see, if I were really going to tear it up, it'd be like this. That's the way I'd really do it. Isn't that funny?
Man.
Oh, all right, I'm just kidding you. It's just a joke. God, you crazy guy. It's just a joke. There you go. I was just kidding you. It's no problem. All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. Here, just a little magic. Go ahead, open it up.
Oh my God.
Wow. You're pretty good at this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
Jeez.
great.
Well, you can hardly see the scars.
That is terrific.
Wow, yeah. All right. We'll fix that right up. And then I just ask, does anybody have a dollar bill? Somebody has a dollar bill and they give it to me. And I talk about George Washington and how he looks rather morose there on the picture on the front. And because he was wearing wooden teeth, he didn't like to smile. And what I want to do is to change his expression, make it a little more interesting. Now, this is pretty easy to do. What you need is to fold the dollar bill back right at the corner of George's mouth. So you fold it back and you crease it very sharply right at the corner of his mouth. Do that on both sides. So you're actually folding it back on both sides of his mouth with very sharp creases. So you have two backwards folds. All right, so that's half of it. 2 lines on both sides of his mouth. Then you squeeze those 2 lines together so that now you've got a valley that runs right down the center of his face, and the peaks are the corners of his mouth. So the valley runs right down the center of his face, and the peaks are there. When you stretch this out, you want to leave a little angle in that valley, just a little dip about 30 degrees down or so on both sides, okay, so that it recedes away from the face of the picture. Now what happens is the back of his mouth, the center of his mouth, is a little bit further back than the corners of his mouth. So by tipping the bill backwards, the center of his mouth goes down while the corners of his mouth go up. And his eyes also move too. His eyes seem to go up and his nose seems to drop down. So he has an expression like he's smiling. And when you tip it forward, the reverse happens. The center of his mouth goes up, the corners go down, and his eyes drop and it looks like he's frowning. It's a very interesting illusion, and it's a very amusing thing to do. He smiles or he frowns. Now what's nice about American currency is that we've just had the new $100 bill with the large picture of Ben Franklin. He also has a very straight mouth, but it's a much bigger picture. So you can do this with a new 100 and the visibility is much better. But you can do it with any portrait on any bill in any currency, any foreign currency, and a lot of those already have large portraits. So that's just a good stunt that gets you into it, the smiling and the frowning, like that. Okay? Then you're going to be performing a suspension using nothing more than the dollar bill and sheer guts. This thing is very angle dependent, so this is really the kind of thing that you'd want to do either one-on-one or with a very small group that's right out in front. It's going to look like the bill is resting on the tips of the fingers of both hands at the ends. What actually happens though is that on the right side, the corner, the lowermost corner, is kind of curled a little bit, just curled down a little bit. So as it rests on the fingers, you can move your little finger up and very slightly clip that corner. So very lightly. Now if you keep the bill angled a little bit forward, this corner of the fold keeps that part hidden, so that when you remove this hand, the support actually comes from that folded down corner underneath. But as long as everybody sees it from eye level above and down at this angle, it all looks like it's staying flat and just resting on the tips of the fingers. So it's very important that the angles are done right. Now you can't use a really soft bill for this either. So you have to use a pretty crisp new bill. So this one works pretty well. Okay? So you get that look, and you want to keep your hand from moving around. You want to keep it in one place as still as possible. And then when you rest the fingers on this end, you move your little finger off of the bill and underneath it, so that now you can rotate both hands out like this, and the fingers are not connected and everything's flat. So it looks like it suspends there for just a moment. Okay? Now you're going to be doing the paper clips and the rubber band, which I'm going to explain separately because of all the setup. In the performance, that was explained fully, but I'm going to do it again so that you can see it in the super practice in just a moment. So we'll skip it and we'll go into the fold where you fold the bill into a Z. Okay? You fold it into a Z. And for this I also need a pen, so I'm going to have to borrow a pen from somebody. So if they can do that for me, just pick up the pen while I do the fold. You fold the bill in thirds. You're going to fold 2/3 of it up toward yourself. 1/3 of it is placed here, okay? And then what you do is you take your index finger and your thumb and you insert your index finger into the bill like this, so that you make a nice curve section. Then your thumb comes up from beneath and presses that flat. Now this is on the right hand side. 1/3 of the bill is toward the audience, and your thumb and your finger press those flat. With your left hand you're pinching that part of the fold. That part of the fold. And as you tip the bill, you rotate it clockwise toward yourself. You'll see it as counterclockwise. You rotate it clockwise, and it folds over your right thumb. You see how it smashes down over your thumb. Now my index finger will still be there, but it smashes down like that. Then I bring my left fingers down to the point where it's starting to fold, and I smash it flat. I take my index finger out, and I pull my thumb out and press those folds sharply down. So you can see that it folds at a 45-degree angle from my index finger and my thumb being placed into there. It makes a little pocket. Okay? So all in just the action of tipping the bill to the side like this. Now as I'm doing that, my fingers are going to be in the way. Right now I'm exposing it so that you can see it. But the action actually takes a very short time. You fold it up like this, you pivot it, and you're done. That's all there is to it, and you now have what looks like a bill folded 1/3 over, but it's actually missing that corner because you've tucked it up inside. Now you continue rotating the bill around so that it extends out of the bottom of your left hand and your left fingers are covering the missing corner. Then you take the flap of the bill that's toward yourself and fold it up and away so that you have a Z fold at the end. You crease it, and now that part of the fold actually covers the missing corner. So this is the final look of the bill if you were to open it up and look inside. Just one corner that's tucked up in place. But it looks, for all intents and purposes, like you've just folded in a Z. Now you can take any pen and apparently insert it between the layers of the bill into this space, while actually inserting it from the back so that it slips into that pocket, and it'll appear to be between the layers of the bill, and then you can push it very freely through because it's actually outside the bill from the top. But the illusion is very good. Now I always hit it, I press with my finger and my thumb, and I hit with the palm of my hand so that it sounds like it's going to be going through. Okay, just like this. So I hit it like that, and it'll sound like it's going through, like there's some force on the pen. And then I show that picture, and if you pinch right up here where the opening of the pocket is, if you pinch that with your left index finger and thumb, you can hold it, support it, and show that it runs through apparently a hole in the bill. Now you're going to be tearing it off in a second. You have the spectator hold the end of the pen, and all I'm doing with my right hand is pressing very firmly against the bill, the pen inside. They're holding the end of the pen, and I pull sharply down, and it'll just slide right out. Now if you listen to this, it doesn't sound much like a bill tearing. Doesn't sound very good at all. So what you do is you make the sound effect. You say, which is PHFFFFFT. So it sounds like it tears. Now, it's important that the sound happens the same time that you tear it, so it doesn't look like this. Okay? It has to be exactly the same time. And it sounds like it rips right through the bill. So now you're in this position. You can come up with your left hand, and as you pull the bill forward, that pocket will open up inside your left hand. So you pull the bill forward, and that pocket opens up right here, hidden in your hand, like that. So it's completely hidden, it opens up fully, and then you just wrinkle it, as though you're putting it back together. So all you're doing is taking the creases out of it, putting the wrinkles in where the creases were, and showing that there's no hole and there's no tear, and of course now there's no evidence. That's the best thing. But my favorite part is right after that. So after you've put the pen through, now you're going to be doing a torn and restored bill in the most dirty and underhanded way that I could think of. You tear it. For real. And then you tear it again for real. And again if you want. About 3 times is the most that you want, because you want rather large pieces. But you actually destroy the bill. And then you put them together and you look at them. And everybody's already reacting. Like, I can't believe you actually did that. Now as they react, that crumpled up dollar bill that you have in your lap or in your pocket, you just grab it and put it in your hand. You're just going to hold that very gently in your hand. It's not a palm or anything like that. You just bring your hand up, you look at those, you bring your hand up, and you start smashing the pieces together. You want them to stay together as much as possible. You smash them into a little ball, and then you just switch the balls. That's it. You just switch one for the other in the action of compressing them, and then you just offer this one to the spectator as you get rid of the torn pieces in your pocket or in your lap if you're seated. So the torn pieces end up here. You give the spectator that smashed up ball that they think are torn pieces, and then as an afterthought, as though you just thought, oh well, I'm a magician, I ought to be able to fix it, snap your fingers and have the spectator open it. Now your hands are empty, and the magic happens outside of your hands as though it restored while they were holding it, which is a very, very strange feeling for them. Now, later on, of course, you'll have to tape this back together, but it's worth it for the reaction that they get. And it's just a dollar bill, so taping it back together is no big deal. So sometimes I just tear it twice because it's faster to tape it. Now, I will give you a little hint. If you want to do this in walk-around, this is not strictly impromptu if you do it this way. Take the taped up dollar bill, the one that you have now, crumple it into a ball, and follow this. The taped up one's crumpled into a ball. You take a fresh one and you tear it. You crumple, crumple, crumple as you switch it for the taped one. Give that to the spectator. Take the torn up pieces with yourself, and now you say you're going to restore it. When you snap your fingers, they undo the bill. It is restored, but it's taped back together, which is a very funny, weird restoration. So now you take this, tape it back together, and you keep recycling taped dollar bills. See how that works?